Super Hour community, how's it going? It's Hero Mentor with Hoarder Gamer. Today we are here. Okay, now Erik explained a little bit of like a history to his name, and I kind of want to pronounce it that way because it was badass, but I'm probably gonna butcher it. Erik, I can't do it. Can you do it for me, Erik? How you would
Bro.
in like bro? See, that just sounds so badass.
But it's Braa here in America just because when they came over they didn't have a certain letter that they have in Norway, and so they just made two A's, and everybody went, your name's Braa. And I gotta say, man, you talk about growing up with a fun name. You know what I mean? His school was a blast. What's that? Erik Braa panties. What's that lingerie? Like, you know.
Well, that's kind of.
Are you going lacy today, or she, or you know, just it was torture, and of course I was bigger than most kids, so they did it at a distance. And then they made me chase him down, you know.
There wasn't social media back then, right? So it was all.
Yeah, no. It was just schoolyard media. It was schoolyard media. That was it. The social schoolyard.
But thank you for coming on Super Hour today. We really appreciate it. We hope you're doing well. The beard is sure doing well. That beard game is strong. Like that is like the epitome of masculinity for me. It's like how long can your beard go? So, like, you're Odin level of being.
Yes, well, I am probably over 8 years into this thing. It actually, I think it stopped. I don't know. It went really fast, and then it just slows down a little bit, and then it kind of gets to, like, my belly button, and it's like, I'm done.
That's probably a good thing. I don't know if I want any longer than that.
Right? I mean, you're not going to braid it below, you know? So.
Exactly. But we checked out your IMDb. There's a lot of projects beyond what we want to talk about in regards to Marvel Rivals and Moon Knight that Hoarder he loves like these weird indie games I've never heard of. Or these games that I've
weird.
No, then maybe you've heard some of my work.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, he's very excited for that. For me personally, we've seen your IMDb. We've seen what you've done. What I would love to dive in first, though, is how you started this journey. Like, what got you into acting? Like, where did that spark come from for you?
Okay, God, I always give the same response, and so I hope it's not. Anyway, I'm going to try to truncate a little bit here. I always loved the voice and being silly and doing impersonations and things like that, and I wanted to do radio when I was younger. Coming out of high school, I was like, oh man, I'm going to do radio. And it was at the time I went to a radio school, whatever, trade school basically, and I did that. And I was going to get into radio, and I thought, I'm going to have a morning show, and I'm going to have these crazy characters, and do prank calls and all this thing coming out of, that we're talking 90s with, the Jerky Boys. And anyway, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then the big giant conglomerates were buying all the stations and turning them into robots, and I went, well, I don't think I have a future here unless I'm going to do overnights in Wichita for like a year or two, and then suddenly I'll have enough credit and cred to be able to say, yeah, I can do a morning show. So I kind of veered off of it, and then I ended up in video games and doing testing mostly, some producing and designing, and then finally, at my last video game job, I met Terry McGovern, who was Launchpad McQuack in DuckTales. So he was very firmly in my heart as this guy. And I met him, and I was like, get out of here. And he's like, you have some skills, man. I can help you. And I had already started doing some stuff on the side, just like occasionally somebody'd go like, oh, we've got, we need a couple of characters for this game we're working on. Why don't you go in and do some stuff? So I was already starting to do some voiceover, but I hadn't done really any acting classes or anything. And I met Terry, and I took his acting class, and I did that for like 4 years. On Tuesday nights, I would go in and do scene study with him. And after about a month or so of doing that, I started working on a demo with him, and I got to hang out with him. We became really good friends, sort of like almost father-son kind of, but really good friends. And he was a wonderful mentor, and we just played around. My first demo was there were 3 different skits that I did, and one was we were just sitting there shooting the stuff there at his little studio in his backyard or whatever, and just hanging out, really. And it was like, well, let's come up with something. And so we came up with Earl and Earlene. We're getting ready to go to the flea market or whatever. And so we start with, oh, dang it, woman, get out here. Okay, I'm on my night, like I started doing these characters, and he just hit record, and then we turned them into little skits and then demos and whatever. And so anyway, that's how I got there. I just made that really, really long because I'm good at that. I like to blah, 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 blah. Okay, everybody's got it. But yes, I meandered around, and I finally got into the acting, and I loved voice, I think, more than anything, but then acting, one of the first things Terry said to me on the phone when I first called him, because a friend got the card, and then that friend gave it to me and said, I think you're readier than I am. So I called him, and he said, well, my son, if you want to learn to voice act, you should learn how to act. And I went, hey, that's a pretty good point. So I should probably have half of this down. So I started taking his class, and then acting, it all opened up then from there, because I realized it's more than just doing a silly voice. It's becoming this character and everything that goes with them. Like, those characters have their own flaws, they have their own issues, they have their own speech impediments, they have their own thought process, like all of these things. And so I realized, well, now I can like be a fuller character. And so that's how I got really going in it. And again, I made this super long.
It's all good.
No, not at all.
It's I was looking through IMDb, and it's funny how you explained how you wanted to get into radio work. But you narrated a lot of sports games for, like, specifically baseball games.
Well, the beauty of that one was the first time I did it for them, for Sony MLB The Show. At first, they wanted there's a section of the game where you can go road to the show, where you create the character, and then you play in minor league, and then your player gets elevated, and blah, blah, as long as you don't completely suck, gets elevated up to the major leagues eventually, and the show. And at first, they wanted a Liev Schreiber, a young prospect. It's a call from an agent. And so they had that. And then when I was recording it, I told, wonderful director, by the way, I just blanked on everybody's name, John, but his brother is a well-known actor in like Office Space and Livingston. So Ron Livingston, his brother John worked for, and so he was my director. And we were just shooting the stuff, and I don't know why I'm suddenly censoring. We were shooting the shit, and he goes, I thought about doing a different kind of thing, and so I did my crusty old manager, and he liked that better, and so the following year they said, we want you to come back and re-record everything as the crusty old guy. So then I did, a young prospect gets a call from an agent, and then it just turned into like, almost the Sam Elliott kind of range where I was
that's wild.
I'm just a baseball manager, and this is what I do. So, so we ended up like, it started as a joke, and then it turned into like 6 years of them just
paid work.
And, well, they would add a little bit to it. A lot of it they would just sort of use from the last one. So like they kind of like, but every now and again they'd call me and come down and add some more stuff. A lot of that was all done in San Diego. They have a Sony studio down there, and so it's a blast. But yes, I've loved. I loved the opportunity, but it didn't mean I ever played any baseball or did any sports announcing. Although I do on occasion during football season. There's a thing called Thursday Night Farce Ball that I do with a couple of my friends, where we do a sidecast to the NFL game on Thursday night, and I am the play-by-play, and then the other guys are all the color, and they're hysterically funny. I just sit there and go, it's 3rd down and 9. But they're like, dropping jokes everywhere and being really funny. So yeah, but yeah, sorry, I don't know how I derailed this too, but I've done it.
No,
Success.
No, these are actually rather succinct answers, to be honest with you. I mean,
it's
not like there weren't like wild tangents or anything.
But Hoarder, he was interested in a lot of your, like, he mentioned these game names. I'm like, Hoarder, I have never heard of that game. But you've done a lot of work that it's crazy versatility in my eyes. So Hoarder, let's dive into some of those games that you really wanted to address.
Sure. First off, I have to touch on the beard. for a moment.
Of course.
So, as someone who has a mediocre beard compared to yours, one thing I'm weird though in that like every 2 or 3 months I just get sick of it and I completely shave. But what I've noticed when the beard comes back, I have to be careful with like my enunciation and everything because it like feels differently when you have like the whiskers like going to your mouth and all that and everything.
Sure.
It's so bizarre, and it's something I didn't realize until like I started doing that. So I just thought that was amusing. So.
Well, I had close people close to me that were like, you have to at least trim this. No dropping it all the way down and doing the big fan out. There's a guy we used to watch something about rescuing a chalet, but he has this huge mustache, and it grows down over like even his bottom lip. And I'm like, I imagine eating sometimes you're just like, it's nothing but whiskers. Sorry. Anyway.
No, it's very
like
true.
I don't know. I mean, so yes, I was told I have to make sure to at least trim around the mouth hole, the word hole.
So layers of fear, I noticed.
I am so glad you brought this up.
I believe you were the husband in the first one, and you were the painter in the remake,
I'm the painter
right?
in the whole damn thing, and he was the husband to start.
That's
after
what I
becoming
thought.
a wild maniac, and then everybody just refers to him as the painter.
I know. I was confused by the credits because I'm like, I played the first one, and I'm pretty sure that's the same thing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome.
I got to tell you, the folks at Bluebird were really sweet. They reached out to me. They were sort of a fledgling game company at the time, and they were like, we have this idea for this, walking simulator, I guess they call it, but it's a horror game, and I was like, I love it, and they were like, we don't have like voice directors and stuff like that, so we're just going to send you the lines, and you're just going to send us some takes, and then we'll put it in the game. And I was like, this is awesome. And so I sat here recording everything and putting some time and effort into my lines, and then I think the first review I heard was, the voice acting's meh. And I was like, no! And I cried. I didn't really cry, but yeah, I was a little bummed. And then, actually, the funny thing is, more recently, within a couple of years now, I met probably the biggest Layers of Fear fan of all time. Her name's Zara, and she actually, in the newest version that they put out, the director's, whatever it's called, I did some new lines. I enhanced some lines and stuff like that, and she's literally a portrait on the wall in it. Because she was such a major fan that they knew her, and they were like, oh, and so they put her in it. Well, I get to chat with her all the time. She's actually really cool, and she's like the painter. I love the painter. You're my painter. You know what I mean? And so it's like every time we chat or anything, it's like I have to say things like, finish it! I have to do things to make her happy to hear the painter.
That's awesome.
The painter. It sounds so loving.
Yeah, it sounds so loving, but he goes absolutely out of his mind. And, and I gotta say, I have a couple of characters in my repertoire that I feel they are a slow descent into madness. And one of them is the painter from Layers of Fear. The other one would be Schaefer from GTFO. In the game, he goes from like, what? Huh? To absolutely bonkers, and then there's an alternate version of him at some point that's not bonkers. Very strange, very strange. But yes, I have a couple of characters that I love. What's going on? No, it's you, isn't it? You're gonna try to destroy everything. That kind of like I'm losing my mind kind of thing. I'm very grateful that I've gotten to do that because I'm losing my mind. So yeah.
It's kind of like the embodiment of a song, "They're coming to take me away,"
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like Layers of Fear a lot. It's very creepy. There's even a little bit of platforming too. There's areas where you have to jump from one thing to another and try to. It's very cool. I played the original. I have not, unfortunately, tried the new one. I definitely need to.
Oh, you got it, because they added other characters and stuff.
I know.
Along the way,
I know. It looked really neat, actually, and it's just like something I haven't gotten to like yet, but I definitely do want to play it. So I was looking at your IMDb, and I saw something that was a little bit different, a little unique. Different credits for you. Tell us about Ragnar the Rat.
Oh goodness. Okay, Ragnar the Rat is was okay. So I for years now have done 48-hour films with my friends.
Okay, yeah.
where you sign up and you get your line of dialogue, a character, and an occupation, and a prop that you have to use, and they tell you on Friday night what your genre and all of that is, like all of that. You find it all out on Friday night, and then you run home and you write what you're going to shoot, and then you spend Saturday shooting everything, and then editing through Sunday, and then Sunday afternoon you have to drop off your finished film. They're 7 minutes long, basically, or shorter, and they have to have their little, whatever, the little 48-hour stuff at the beginning and the end or whatever. And so I've been doing it for years with friends. Well, I decided one year that I had a little bit in my savings, and I was like, I'm going to spend a couple grand. I'm going to get, I'm going to treat my crew right. Of course, I got, catering and all that kind of stuff, and I rented a place to shoot at. So I said, no matter what we get, this is where we're shooting, because this is all I could, I've already arranged it all. And so anyway, we got a holiday or vacation film or something, / something else, whatever. But we went with Ruined Holiday, where the family wanted to go to Hawaii, but then found out that their old, basically like grandpa or father or whatever, he moved to Norway to become the voice of Ragnar the Rat, which is basically like Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
And he dies as they're on their way to Hawaii, and they have to redirect and go to Norway. And so they show up all in Hawaiian gear, ready, ruined vacation and everything, to get there and then have to talk to the lawyer about their dead father or whatever. So it's a silly film that I tried to make. I was directing and producing and directing it, and I had a great crew, but we just... It's you only get a day, to really shoot. So like when you make a mistake and you forget, like, oh, I should have punched in here, I should have got an insert shot of this, or I should have had a better sound right there, and sometimes you're just like, well, nothing I can do about that. So for those of you that might find it on YouTube, it is you're gonna say like, this is pretty amateur, and it's like, yeah, it kind of is, but we just slapped it together in a weekend and it was fun. And so yes, I love directing now. It's one of the things that helped open that door for me to where now I like directing. And I started teaching some classes and stuff in voiceover, so I really appreciate especially when you're working with another actor and you say like, okay, I want you to go here, I want to push this, I want to do that. And they go, yeah, and then they deliver it and you go, oh, they've grown. It's almost like, Mario eating a mushroom, or you see them get bigger and better as an actor while you're doing it, or at least the scene, I should say. Maybe they're not a better actor after something I've said, but it's that concept of like, you kind of pushed them to a spot and then they do something and you're like, oh, that's beautiful, like chef's kiss. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. I've actually been in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I've actually been part of the 48-hour film thing.
Oh, awesome!
That they do, and they do it. I believe it's every year. So what I did a soundtrack, keyboards for one of the films. So I just came up with like a musical theme that was repeated during the short film.
Oh, check out Danny Elfman over here.
I wish.
What is he, John fucking Williams?
No, I sure as hell am not Mr. Soprano.
Oh man, I'll tell you, John Williams, you can't. I mean, whew, that dude is amazing.
I know. My favorites are actually Clint Mansell and someone who passed away a number of years ago, Angelo Badalamenti. Huge fan of both of them, and Angelo did a lot of his stuff with David Lynch and everything. So,
yeah. I've been working on a project down in Mexico. And the director is like a little slice of Lynch and has made this series about vampires that's like Twin Peaks meets San Miguel de Allende, which is a city there in Mexico, north of Mexico City. It's up in the mountains, like mile high. Crazy cool town. But I was just there for like a week doing some shots there with them. And it's those kind of visionaries where you're like, I don't even know what to make of you. You know what I mean? But then you put something together on film, and sometimes, I'll be honest, the first time I watch it, I'm like, the fuck is this? And then the second time I watch it, I go, oh, okay, I think I'm starting to get it. You know what I mean? Some people get it right away. Maybe I'm just too dense, but I've had the pleasure of working with this lovely lady, Davida Sal, and she made this crazy project, and it's in editing right now, but for the second episode. There's a first episode up there somewhere called Leche Roja. The red milk, yes, they're all vampires.
Sounds cool.
Yeah,
I'm a
it's
huge
fun.
fan of vampire stuff, actually.
Well, you'll enjoy it.
Have you ever had anyone compliment you on how you naturally sound like Chris Farley?
Oh, yes.
The entire time that you talk, I'm just like, I loved Chris Farley. So
Well,
this is
well, you
incredible.
hear that, Dad? We got ourselves a real Bill Shakespeare over here. You know, walking down that path is only going to lead you to living in a van down by the river. Yeah, sorry, huge fan. I don't know, if, by the way, if my mic is cutting out or anything, but I'm a huge fan of Farley. Farley was one of the greatest. You couldn't stop laughing. You know what I mean?
It was never like laughing at him. It was laughing
No,
at him.
no, yeah. The Chippendales routine, when you should be, in a way, laughing at him because he's this overweight guy doing this bit, you still laughed with him because he was just so damn good. And there's Patrick Swayze, like, looking all the bit Adonis, right? And he's like, gosh, you really deserve it. You know, like, it was so great. I just, man, that bit will make you laugh every single time.
My favorite is that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Oder.
Oh, my favorite is
Canadian,
the Schiller.
so I'll let you go first.
My favorite is the Schiller Vision reel, where he's having like almost like the Folgers crystals, but they lied to him, and it's a different type of coffee, and he just completely loses it and like becomes like a sociopath. That is incredible. I highly recommend, if you haven't seen that, everybody check out that Schiller reel or Schiller Vision.
Oh man,
Saturday Night Live.
I was gonna say, this sounds like his skits because my introduction to Chris was Beverly Hills Ninja. I saw that in the theaters at like a young age, and I'm like, I love this guy. And
Tommy
Boy, Black Sheep.
Yep.
Those were the Billy Madison. I loved him in Billy Madison.
When they started putting him and what's his bucket, the David Spade or whatever together. Oh, I mean, Tommy Boy to me was still to this day, like, Black Sheep was good too, but Tommy Boy to me was just the one. It was so warm and heartfelt, like just a sweet little movie. Yes. But it's just Chris Farley being Chris Farley, and you can't help but fall in love. You're just like, this guy is 100%. So funny, and he's so sweet. And even when he, like, oh, David, or whatever, like, I don't know if you guys know, but there was, like, apparently an outtake where, there's the shot where he opens the door, he's like, housekeeping, whatever, and he's like, what kind of housekeeping? He opens that, and he's standing there in, like, his little bikini underwear. And apparently there was one where, in an outtake, where he opened it with, like, nothing on or something to mess up with David Spade. And David Spade was just like, he couldn't even do the scene, so that's why it ended up on the cutting room floor.
It was, and like, the best part I had to acknowledge was you're not even trying to do a Chris Farley impersonate. It's just naturally, I was like...
I was at a dinner one time with a friend of mine, and I am a boisterous and loud idiot.
No,
and,
I don't think that at all.
And so I was just doing me, right? And then we get outside, and one of the guys walks out, and he worked up in Seattle, but we were associated or whatever. So anyway, he goes, man, if you don't have like a natural Farley going on with you, I don't understand. And I was like, oh, you think so? Like, I just started trying to emulate a little bit more. And then he was losing it. The guy was just like almost peeing his pants. He was waiting for a taxi or whatever. He's just losing it. Yeah, we had a good time, man. I love Chris Farley, so yeah, I'm happy to take that compliment.
Yeah, take that compliment, 100%, because it's just so natural. But we've talked about a lot of fun you've had, a lot of good times, a lot of laughter. But I really want to understand one of the things that I experienced when I was going down the actors road when I was doing background work was the constant feeling of rejection, being told no, not what I want. And the last straw for me was when I was rejected for a role for a Liam Neeson movie. I was like, you know what? I like the destination, but I don't like the journey. But obviously you do.
No, because you just have the... I'm just going to change your mind. It's not rejection, it's selection.
There it is. Thank you.
So every time they don't pick me, I go, they selected somebody different. They didn't reject me. They just selected somebody different. And when I get selected, then, man, Bonerville. I'm very happy, and I want to be, you know what I mean? I'm happy to go out there and do it. I love what I do, and if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I'll tell you, like, if there's anybody younger right now listening, please figure out what you like doing and put all your efforts into trying to get there to do that. If you love basketball but you're 5 foot, then figure out how to write about basketball or do something about basketball so that you can be associated with the thing you love. You'll find a spot somewhere in a niche. If you don't like, doing the on-camera stuff, then check out voiceover. But all I'm saying is, find things that you love, and if you can't do exactly that, be damn near adjacent so that you love what you do, because it changes your life. You'll be younger, prettier, the whole bit. Everything will work for you.
I love how you said, to find something that's adjacent or along that path, because unfortunately, not everyone is going to be at the level they want to be, but you can get close enough to it that you are just like, I'm fulfilled.
Right.
I'm happy, and it's like that's the goal. Like people always speak about success, and it's like fulfillment is what we should strive for.
And honestly, like I said, like if it's a sport you love but you can't really do it, then you could be writing about it. You could be a commentator on the sidelines. You could work on the chain gang. You could be a coach. There's so many things you could do that would be adjacent to it. And if it's what you love, then you never know. Like when you get that one job, who knows what that leads to, as doing voiceover and some on camera, it has gotten me other on camera. It has gotten me to meet some of my heroes. You know what I mean? I remember it because Terry was my mentor, and I love Terry to death. He invited me to hang out with him at a con one time, a fan convention. And so there we are, and I'm just following around like a little puppy because I'm like, oh, gosh, okay, Terry, whatever you say. And but then we go out to dinner afterwards, later on, and now I'm sitting there with him, which I've known him for years, but then Jim Cummings and George Newbern. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there with these people, and I'm like, I'm sitting with freaking gods, and they're all acting like, hey, man, he's, part of the crew. And I'm like, no, I'm not even close to you guys. But yes, all right. Yeah, right? Ha-ha! No, but, no, you never know where this will take you by following your passions. And if you can't do the exact thing you want to do, just try to stay in the general ballpark, and you never know, man. You just never know.
And you speak from experience because you wanted to get into like radio shows
Yes.
and so forth, but you still found something that was along the lines like your narrator work in the MLB The Show.
I'm a big fan of the human voice. I think that it is one of the best things we have, because you don't always have to see people, but if they can portray what they want with their voice and their mannerisms and things like that, then you see the whole picture in your mind. It doesn't matter, like there's characters right now that some people love that I do. I unfortunately don't look like that guy, because if I did, I'd probably need a stick very large to beat off the people that are glomming on, because they're in love with the guy. But it's only because they know my voice. But other than that, the visual is, he's adorable. He's a very attractive man, but it's just me. And then you find out it's me. You're like, oh, well, he definitely doesn't look like the character. That's for sure.
I had to say I don't really believe that because of that beard. Okay, I think anyone who sees that beard would love it.
Well, it has become my brand, basically. I literally have shirts with my beard on them, and which you could find at Blaspheme Boutique, by the way.
Awesome, plug it. So, do you like to be called the Viking of voice, or?
Well, it's become it's just become like my thing, my hashtag, I guess, or my title.
Yeah.
It's like they go, Erik Braa, Viking of voice, and I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, that's me. I'm while I should be probably a little not flattered by my heritage of Vikings. I love the Viking lore and all of that stuff. Obviously, they did some pretty terrible stuff, so you can't totally love everything about them. However, their ingenuity and their good lord, their sea prowess, if that's even a thing, the way they sailed and made boats that nobody else could figure out, and somehow and they could, these big boats would somehow go up small rivers and things like that because they were shallow enough but still wide enough. And yeah, there was some ingenuity that went with the Vikings, and some just sort of thought process, the all thing or the thing, and often they say ting or whatever, but the thing, which was a court. It was a court of your peers, and the Vikings had that before, you know what I mean, before there was the Romans and democracy and things like that. There was literally a time when they would gather everybody in the longhouse and say, this guy did some fucked up shit, and he'd speak for himself, and then all the people in the village would be like, yeah, I don't think so, man. This guy's got to go, or he's got to whatever, be locked up, or whatever his punishment was. Well, of course, back then they had some pretty serious punishments, but nobody wants to get blood-eagled. But yeah, but yeah, I think that I'm proud of the heritage. There's also like the slaving and the other things they did that are not so great.
And the pillaging, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, look at that village. Let's go say hi. You're not going to say hi, are you? Nope, I'm going to go murder.
Yeah.
It's like I have always loved the Viking lore as well in regards to like games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Sure.
Games like For Honor that have the lore of Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
It's always from that, but then you watch the TV show Vikings.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh dear. There's things beyond Thor and Odin and
there's things beyond the mythology. Yes, the actual guys that ran around doing stuff. You know, Harold Bluetooth and all these guys. They're the Ragnar Lothbrok series or whatever, you know, saga or part of the sagas, I guess. None of those are complete, by the way. So there's so much you have to fill in on your own. And so, you know, depending on who's making the show might decide how much they fill in and what they fill it in with. But yeah, they were amazing for what they did. There was a time in this world, in this earth at least, that the Vikings were everywhere. And you know what I mean? They went and checked things out. The thing I like about that is they learned things. You know, the first Viking comb had like 4 teeth or whatever, right? And then they went to Persia and other places, and they saw the finer teeth and more of them to separate more hair instead of dreadlocks. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So then they started making combs with more teeth. They learned as they went, and they went, "Oh, that's good," and they just became part of their society. So I loved that concept. And I've always tried to be somebody like that. If I learn a better way to do something, I'm like, "Oh, goodbye, old ways." You know.
It totally makes sense. So has there been any characters that you felt you've related to on an emotional and mental level? And like, how did you prepare for those roles?
I played a rock. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. All I did was No,
Works for I Am Groot, so
exactly right. Don't argue with the tree.
Exactly.
I don't. I mean, it's hard to say that because, like, you know, I love pieces of all of the characters that I've done. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And there's, you know, for example, people love Draven in League of Legends, right? And the only reason I got there was because I already had a noir detective named Johnny Dammit, and I know every foggy corner of this metropolis. And he was this guy. And then they said in the casting that they wanted to add a splash of wrestler. You know what I mean? And I went, so he went from here to, yeah, woo, that's right. You know what I mean? So I just, it means something to me. I'm not the cocky jerk that he is, thank God. But yeah, like, there's pieces of, like, oh, I wish I could be that cocky. I wish I could be like, oh, what's some of this? Like, Draven, when I'm Draven, I get to do that, and that's super fun, and so that means something. Each character, there's a little piece of you in, and I know they're often just voiceover, so people are like, but you're not acting, you know. And it's like, well, it is acting. It's just a different kind. It's just, you only hear me. And like Master Koga, there's a little bit of me there. There's a little bit of just different characters that I've done where there's little bits of me in each one of them. Do I relate to any of them? Most of them are pretty wild characters, so I don't know how much I relate. But yeah, I mean, you're connected. Like, somebody will say, like, "Oh, what's your favorite character that you do?" And you're always like, "I can't choose. There's too many." Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's too many. But I love this one. But I love that one. But you know, there's too many. But I am thrilled to be doing the work I do. So yeah. I don't even know how. I don't think I answered your question at all. But
I I gathered what you threw down, and I put together, and there's an answer there. I
All right,
don't worry.
Somehow in editing, we'll fix that.
It's just when at the beginning I was like, wait a minute. He was talking about the painter and how he had all these characters that were going crazy. I don't think he wants to relate to those that much.
I mean, look, I lost my mom to dementia and all that, so like, who knows? Like, maybe I'll be there soon enough. So maybe I do identify in some way, but yeah, I just they all have a little piece of you. They all have something about it. You know, when I started the painter, because you brought it up, the idea at the beginning, as Hoarder was talking about, like at the beginning, they were like the husband or whatever. He was like, I'm so happy here with you, darling. Like, it was very happy, and then it was later that he's like, and why do I want to scratch your fucking eyes out? Like, it's just, it starts to turn, but yeah, they all start as you in a way. I mean,
I've always loved those characters, though, that have, and that's why I've always personally loved villains more than heroes, because I find that villains have such great backstories,
right?
And like great quotes, like it only takes one bad day. So it's just like, oh man, these characters are badass. And then we lead to why we brought you here and why we came aware of who you are, which is Moon Knight from Marvel Rivals. Now,
I am the Fist of Khonshu.
So good, because a lot of people are only familiar possibly with Oscar Isaac.
Yes.
His performance with Moon Knight. And your guys' voice is dramatically different, I feel. So if they watch that MCU Disney Plus series and then they come to Marvel Rivals, they're probably like, what's going on here?
Right.
Why is there such a distinct...
And I was too, to be honest with you. I had to sit on that. I did the first recordings, I think, like 2 years ago. So I was like, I did it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And then I started letting the overthinker run in my brain, and I went, wait a minute. They're most likely going to replace me with somebody who sounds like Oscar Isaac.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
true.
they have to, right? Like, aren't they going to keep it cohesive throughout their cinematic universe or whatever? And literally up until, oh God, was it like October before? It released in December last year, 24,
December
right?
6th, yeah.
So, even as late as like September, October, I was still like, am I still in it? And they were like, yes, you idiot, we're bringing you in for pickups. And I'm like, okay. And I love, by the way, the people that Bright Skull was the group I worked with, and Mike is just a wonderful director and engineer. He knows what he's doing. And him and Rachel have a great product. But anyway, I was working with them, and he kept going like, bro, calm down. Like, you're in it. It's fine. And I'm like, I just feel like any minute now they're going to replace me and make me sound like Oscar Isaac. And he goes, no. They're going with their own thing. And I go, great. So when it finally came out, and I think it was like a day or two before they told me, okay, you can announce you're in it. And I was like, really? Oh! And I was just like, I could cut glass. I was so excited. I was so excited that I couldn't handle it. You know what I mean? I was like, oh. But what's weird is, I had 2 years of knowing that it was coming, or at least assuming it was. You know what I mean? I kept thinking like, oh, any day now I'll get a message that they've cut me from it. And then it finally happened, and so I'm very stoked. And you have no idea. It was such a fun thing to work on, and there's moments I got to do, and I don't know where they are. There were sort of cutscene stuff that they were doing, which I don't know if it makes it into Rivals as much. It might be the crossover stuff from the other games in the Marvel Universe, but there was a scene where I got to be Jake, and a scene I got to be Steven, and a scene, you know what I mean? I got to be each guy, and so I thought it was awesome getting to do, like, Jake's more of like, the cab driver, like, what's your problem, And, the moon haunts you, huh? So, like, I was like, you get to be Jake, and then Steven, oh my God, what? I'm very happy. And then, obviously our normal guy, but I just, Mark, but God, yeah, stoked. And I got to do Khonshu, yes, my son, like, I just sort of did my best F. Murray Abram or whatever, and yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I was stoked that I got to do the whole character in a way, because they were literally talking about casting somebody else to be the Jake and the Steven,
Oh.
and maybe even Khonshu. And I was like, I could do them. You know what I mean?
I'm right here.
I could change my voice a little. So I tried. I don't know if I have the best accents necessarily, but I definitely I was stoked. And there was only a couple lines, so it wasn't like we had to go too far into the research on becoming this, accent in this character. But yeah, it was great.
My favorite part of Marvel Rivals is when you get into a match and you're waiting in like certain areas, like the lobby area, and there's conversations that happen there. And Moon Knight is so he's a jackass at times and a jerk.
Yeah.
He's very dismissive.
Yeah.
And he's like,
yeah.
sometimes I'm Mark, sometimes I'm Jake. And it's like, his dialogue is
whatever.
Yeah, like it's the DID, right? Like he suffers with DID, and his character has always been very attractive to me with his lore, very like mental health driven, and I love mental health conversations. And I was like, this is so when they saw Moon Knight was a part of the roster, I was excited. But then when I heard your performance, that's what really made Moon Knight one of my favorite characters of my mains, is because there's nothing more satisfying than throwing an Ankh and then applying my ultimate and hearing that the moon will haunt you and seeing people scatter.
Oh,
like you invoke so much fear.
The best was the people that I don't know if they rage quit, but they definitely get pretty upset because the second they hear it, they know that no matter if they try to, it's too late. It's too late. They're getting hit with damage, and so they're like, the moon, no! They're like instantly just like, no! And boom, they get hit. And so yeah, I'm stoked. I love that they made a great character. I love that you could throw an Ankh and throw it, at the Ankh and it'll bounce to people around a corner.
Yeah.
I think there's amazing things they did with the character build for the game that, I mean, hell, at that point, who cares who did the voice, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they made a good character. But then, yes, I was very grateful that I got to be him and wear that weird outfit for a minute. He was always a favorite of mine because he was sort of the Marvel Batman. Like,
that's the reference everyone gives.
Yeah, and he's basically sort of like roving around Manhattan, protecting people at night, and
yes,
and it's much the sort of the style of Batman, and I was like, I love that, and I mean, who doesn't love Batman? And then, but nobody wants to do Batman's voice right now. I mean, Kevin Conroy has passed away, but nobody's whoever takes that voice next is just looking for like. You know what I mean? Like, they're just going to get nothing but comments of, like, you're the fucking worst, nobody will ever be Kevin Conroy. It's like, I'm not trying to be, bro. I'm just doing a voice, So, yeah, I imagine that's a tough one to try to fill the shoes of. But, yes, I was very stoked to get the Marvel version, at least in this sense. And I love the character, so,
So have you had the chance to play any at all?
I haven't really played because I don't have a system right now that will even handle it.
Gotcha.
I have older pewters, and I use a Mac for my work, right? Because sorry, I don't know where I'm going. My Pro Tools works best in a Mac. Honestly, it really does. It works great. So I use a Mac most of the time, and I just got a new one that might even play it, but I haven't set it up yet. That's the next step. I got to take like a weekend to just rip everything out and start over again, rebuild. So yeah, I'll be doing that at some point. Woo! Wish me luck. But yeah.
But you're pretty active on social media in regards to watching like clips and memes.
Yeah, I do like to go. I have a friend of mine. Actually, I was trying to plug Blaspheme Boutique. Well, she is called Witchy Hammer on Twitch, and she streams Marvel Rivals. And because she knew I was like coming to hang out, we're friends. We've been friends for years. And she's like, "Oh, I know you're here, so I'm gonna go ahead and main Moon Knight for like the first week or whatever." And she got really good at him, actually. Like, I was like, oh, damn, this girl kills it. Like, she's really good. And so it was fun watching him, and I get to hear the stuff, the quips and stuff like that when you're walking around, you bump into other characters. Yeah. There was something with Captain America, I think, in one of them. I don't remember if it was a cutscene or whatever, but he's like, you were in the Avengers, weren't you? Or and he's like, yeah, but I ripped up the ID card.
Yes. There's also no with Cloak and Cloak and Dagger with Cloak, where he's like there's something wrong. The only thing about wearing a white outfit is the bloodstains. Am I right? And she's like, I'm kind of here not to hurt people.
And I love it. I love that he calls Punisher like a psycho and all this. Like, there's so many things about it that are like, that's kind of funny that he would even say that about them. So the writing they did on it was really good. The folks, I know that Marvel was involved in that because NetEase, obviously they had to license everything from Marvel, but they, sometimes I'm sure a lot of Marvel projects get off the ground where they just go, yeah, whatever, they're just going to use the characters, they've paid a lot of money, whatever. But in this one, I know that they actually wrote, Marvel was involved because there was at least once or twice where I would be in a session and there would be a line that we were like, I don't, and then you'd hear somebody go like, hold on a minute, so-and-so, and then all of a sudden they would be on some Zoom call that was separate to the session, and then they would be feeding information going, yeah, he can't say that, or no,
awesome.
That line's not right. So they would change something or change a word, even just simple stuff, just to make it flow smoothly. And yeah, it was amazing. That kind of stuff just blows me away. I mean,
it's really lore specific. Like there's even conversations where we had Bill on here who performs as Punisher, and like the stuff that they had you guys say got us fans so excited because it's like that is so lore specific.
Yeah.
And like it brings up comic events, and it's just like I love this. So when you're preparing for this role, were you really familiar with Moon Knight as a character? Like, did you read his comics, or how much research did you do in it?
I knew Moon Knight because I had read the comics. I will tell you though that when you get the auditions for something like this, we'll say there might be 5 characters in there. So I might have auditioned for other characters as well. You know what I mean? Obviously didn't get them. I don't know why. My Hemsworth isn't that bad.
I was gonna say,
yeah, but I mean, you look who gets Travis. It, and you're like, well, never mind. Yeah. Travis is pretty awesome, so you can't argue with that. No. But yeah, there were several characters that I was like, oh man, I would kind of have any of these. Moon Knight was definitely one. It was in that list of like I have a couple that I really want to get, but again, it's not rejection; it's selection, and so luckily I was selected for Moon Knight. I hate to say that I was rejected for Thor, considering I have so much heritage, ancestry to the actual mythology, but yeah, no, I'm very happy, and like I said, I auditioned for many of the characters, and of course, Adam Arrington does Groot for like everything Marvel, so that's not Vin Diesel, you know what I mean? So,
we had a lie on last week, and we're like, this voice cast is like a matter of who's who.
Yeah,
like, just tremendous talent and long-lasting actors like Yuri with Spider-Man.
Come on,
and, Liam O'Brien as Doctor Strange, Laura Bailey as Black Widow, who's done a tremendous job, and this game introduced me to you, which made me have allowed me to go and watch a lot of your other previous work.
I know you're like, who's who? Wait, who is that?
Like, Erik Braa, who's this guy?
Who the fuck is this guy? What a stupid name. Who is this guy?
But his beard is beautiful. I gotta give him a follow and check him out. He does Moon Knight, which is a tremendous character. But you as Thor would have been also incredible.
Yes, I've actually played Throg once. Yes, Throg. I got to play Throg once it was like I think it's a Disney cruise or something, and it was like
wow.
they have a show that they showed during the cruise or whatever. It was like each day was a new episode or whatever, and there's a moment where. I think it's Ironheart or whatever her name is. She's one of the young new characters, but I show up as Throg and hello, tiny mortals. Perhaps you've seen my brother. Long, pointy, spiky crown, big fang. No? Okay then. Anyway, it was fun, and obviously you're doing a Hemsworth the whole time because that's what they wanted. They kind of wanted. I might make him more Nordic if I had the opportunity.
I was talking to Hoarder in our production meeting. I was like, I'm surprised they didn't go with something that was similar to Oscar Isaac because he's so
exactly
is the most well known. But at the same time, I'm so glad they didn't because A, it gave you work, and B, it was tremendous to listen to you perform, and C, that ultimate battle cry is just the moon will haunt you, or the moon haunts you. I'm just
the moon haunts you.
Like, it's just, you're dead, and it's amazing. But Hoarder, is there any further questions you have before I finish this up really quick?
Yeah, one thing I have to say is I really like your take on Moon Knight. It's very much a noir type of vibe, and that's like from the Jed MacKay comic series, the current ones. It's a very in keeping with this version of the character, so it's awesome. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much all I have to say right now, though. Oh,
yeah, we
I
love
did.
your work.
I do have a question. I apologize. I have to ask every voice actor this now. So I'm disabled. I studied voiceover for about 6 weeks. I took a course in it and everything. One thing that worries me is that as being disabled, one thing they tried to drill into us is that for the performance, you need to be able to stand as you're giving the performance. What is your view on that?
I know actors that sit. I do know actors that sit. I'm often offered the opportunity to sit when I go in. I am a stand and deliver kind of person, but I am perfectly fine with a stool being around me so I can sit down, take a load off. But I know people that have done it from a seating position and they're fine. And I don't know who told you that and made that they probably should be at least wrapped on the knuckles for that one, but because I look, yes, obviously most people will stand and deliver that way, but to imply that you couldn't do it because you were going to be sitting all the time is ridiculous. I think you absolutely can do it. The difference is that there's a physicality to doing it, and if you do it well, like even if it's I've done a couple of like animes, right, where I'm doing dubbing and stuff, and sometimes you want to you want to sort of, whoa, pal, like it helps with your delivery on things.
Sure.
Or yoo-hoo, and so maybe but I don't really jump, so you know what I mean. Like I don't see why you couldn't be seated, and so yes, I encourage you to get back in the game on the pony. I'm sorry, I was trying to come up with something, but yes, I encourage you to follow through with it. And there's a lot of people that do audiobooks, and they sit the entire damn time because you're there for 11 hours, or, well, I mean, so many hours per session, but, 2 to 3 hours at least. Sometimes 4, I guess, is the most that they probably have you sit at any one time or read at any one time. So, yeah. But, yeah.
Sessions usually being at least around 2 hours or so. I was worried because I can only stand for about 10 or 15 minutes without being in pain. So that's,
Right. Well, hell, the fact that you can stand at all, there you go. I mean, if there's a certain line that you want a bunch of physicality, then maybe you stand for that line. But the truth is, I think you'd be fine. I don't think you'd have any problem with that at all. And I obviously support people of all kinds doing what they want to do. So I say go, my friend.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Eric, if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
You can find me at Erik Braa.
Not like your house address.
Right. At 42. No, I was kidding. Most of the time it's at Erik Braa, ErikBraa, or it's ErockVO, ErockVO. ErockVO being, I think, my Insta, and I think my X, or whatever the hell it's called now, is Erik Braa. And almost anywhere you go, you can find whatever. Just Google me. You'll be surprised if you type my name in. You'll find some stuff, and you'll find all my connections. So yeah, come check me out. And I do a Twitch stream on Tuesday nights where we do a happy hour. I usually pick out a nice beer, and we have a beverage or two, and we hang out and chat. And I get pretty stupid by the end of it, and so therefore it's it's for adults, mature audiences, and very immature audiences, and yeah. Come by and hang out on the Twitch channel if you want. And you can ask questions, and I'm right there to, if somebody types in a question in the Twitch, I will usually, I said the Twitch. See, that shows my age right there. They type it in the Twitch there, and I see it, and I say, well, here's my answer. Sarsaparilla. But yeah, absolutely. Come by and hang out, or find me on any of the social medias. I'm pretty generally just like I'll answer questions if you have questions.
And your Twitch stream is mainly just chatting, I'm guessing, is the category?
Yes, it'll be under just chatting. It is called the Happy Hour, the broadcast Happy Hour. Everything I do is broadcast because duh. I mean, when you have the name, you're like
broadcast this whole time.
Yeah, that's what I want. I wanted obviously the idea. I have the Sleepy Time broadcast. If you have trouble sleeping, I have sleep stories available. I started doing those on the Calm app. If you've ever heard of that one, it's a meditation and sleep. I'm on there doing sleep stories. Well, I started making my own podcast just because people were like, I want more stories! So I started reading more stories. I don't make any money doing it. I just do it because people seem to really like going to sleep to my voice. So, I know, right? It seems weird. Good night. I hope you enjoy yourself. But yeah, I do that. And honestly, I think the first time I got a tweet, the best tweet I ever got was, thanks for last night. I made it 5 minutes. And I was just like, wait a minute. I was at home last night. What? Hold on, who are you? And then I was like, oh, right, the sleep stories. And so I was stoked. I was stoked that people find help. You know, I get messages from people that say, thank you. I've had insomnia for years, and I haven't been able to sleep, and I found your stories, and now I can go to sleep. And I'm like, I love you. I'm so happy that you're getting the help you need. And, yeah, I'll do everything I can to make people's lives better if I can. So,
if you want to make mine better, I'm an insomniac as well, but I would love to have a Moon Knight edition.
Oh, all right. I might get sued, so I got to be careful with that one.
Just say noir, the noir version. There you go.
The moon will haunt you.
Sleep.
Yes.
Right there.
Go to sleep. I'll be right there. Right? Just make it creepy. I don't know if I might get sued trying to do a Moon Knight version, but I'll do my best. I'll try to find something to read that would be cool, or maybe I could read
like
Moon Knight in my regular voice. Yeah. Well, I am working with. I do have a couple of odd character versions for sleep stories. One of them is. Oh wait, they even gave me this little Tony thing. Here it is. I hope this shows up on camera. Captain Dreambeard.
Oh wow!
And he's a little Tony guy that you put on the box or whatever, and then it reads stories and stuff. But he's a pirate captain, but he's trying to get you to sleep. So I do Captain Dreambeard, and I'm working on another character that is a wizard, not for Calm, a different one altogether. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Hopefully, I'll have more options for you that might make you happy. Son of a bitch! Why? You know, only I could go to sleep the Moon Knight. That's it. That's all he said. He said no one else.
No one else.
Come check them out. They're fantastic. You love them.
Or even Chris Farley would work actually too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey, you're gonna find yourself down living in a van down by the river. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Well, Eric is.
You never should have popped the cork on this, Genie.
If this is going to carry over the social media, people are going to be like, "What is happening at the end?"
Yeah,
of the
right.
I don't even know no more what's going on. But it has been a tremendous time talking to you. So yes. I want to say from myself and Hoarder, thank you for the time for this.
I can't wait till the edit comes out and all you hear is me go, "Yes." Next question.
It would just be like a 58-minute recording brought down to like 8 minutes of actual.
Yeah. That's it exactly. You're gonna we cut out all his long-winded responses and got yes, cool.
Indeed.
Yeah, indeed.
The moon will haunt you. That's all I wanted. Really.
Exactly. The moon will haunt you.
A thing that we like to do at the end of the episode is let you know that we would definitely love to have you back on in like 6 months to a year or sometime, just to see how things are going.
Well, we'll see how my career goes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Probably won't
right. Exactly. If I don't get any more cool characters, you're gonna be like, screw this guy. Who cares about him?
If you don't have a Moon Knight sleep character, don't even bother. I'm not
right. Don't even bother. Yeah. That is a call that I will ignore.
Thank you so much, Eric, for the time.
Thank you, Eric.
We
Thank you.
really value and appreciate it. And we hope that your voice continues to haunt Marvel Rivals players, because a lot of people hate Moon Knight. In regards to that, I love him. He's my favorite, one of my favorite DPS characters.
He's awesome.
But my daughter, for example, hates him.
Yes. Well, it depends on if you're haunted or doing the haunting.
Yes.
When she sees that Moon Knight's on the opposition, she's like, no.
Yeah. Yep. Saw that honk on the wall. I'm running for the hills.
But thank you so much, Eric, and we have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.